I think that's the kind of cool part about guitar playing. But I will say that a lot of the influences I had really were melodic choices, and that was because I was a drummer before I was a guitar player. So I was developing my ear as a guitarist and using scales like the Dorian scale. It's like everybody knows it's like the jam band trope. It's like everybody uses the Dorian. Why wouldn't you use the Dorian? It's like you can play minor, you play Dorian, but you don't have to. But Carlos Santana also used a lot of Dorian, and he had a really, really nice vibe with it. And I always liked the kind of phrasing he would use, and so I kind of tried to mimic some of that, and take that into like my own playing as I was learning how to play scales and solos. And Hendrix, I just loved how loose he could be, and how it was almost like this like gentle roughness. If that it's that's such a you know paradox, like, but it's like he was gentle, but it felt like it was so crazy, that it was so rough and out there because of the distortion and stuff like that, and the way he would attack the guitar. And so sometimes I like to, kind of get in those zones where it's like I'm not thinking about just hitting the one note. I'm thinking about like ripping across all the strings, even though I'm only going for one note. And if there's a little bit of bleed and play over, it feels like that raw energy thing that he would give off.
Love this podcast? Head to patreon.com/datcmediacompany to find out how you can show your support.
Are you ready to relive the soundtrack of a generation? Dive deep into the ultimate countdown for Tragically Hip fans. Hey, it's JD here. Welcome to the Tragically Hip Top 40 Countdown, presented by DATC Media and Dubra Podcasts and such. Every Monday, I'll be here with a superfan guest to break down a classic hip track, share their personal hip story, and see where your favorite song lands in the countdown.
And to me, it's one of the greatest songs they've ever done.
That kind of hit me because that's pretty much how life is.
A beautifully crafted, multi-part story.
Every week, a new song, a new story, and you get to see where your favorite track lands. Don't miss an episode. Hit that subscribe button and join the conversation. It's more than a countdown. It's a celebration of one of the greatest Canadian bands of all time.
A member of the DATC Media family. Greetings, fellow music enthusiasts. Welcome to Dropped Among This Crowd podcast. This is your space to explore the role of music in our lives, our love for it, and the sense of community that it creates. I'm your host, Sara J, and I'm thrilled to have you along for the ride. Are you prepared for what comes next? Everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for this week of Dropped Among This Crowd. I'm your host, Sara J, your favorite music news rocker chick. I hope that you were able to check out the last fresh episode from 2 weeks ago, where I introduced you to my new friend and member of the DATC Media family, JD from Toronto. JD and I talked all about his shows here on the DATC Media Network, including the newly launched The Tragically Hip Top 40 Countdown. You can find new episodes of that dropping every Monday anywhere that you find podcasts. And if you haven't given a listen to my chat with JD, make sure you check that out. This week on the show, I am very excited to be bringing you something new. This new type of episode is going to intertwine with all of the work that I do with RoughGauge. As many of you may know, I've been working with RoughGauge for the past couple of years, the company that invented the Jake Blade, the innovative alternative to the traditional whammy bar. I've been working with them in various ways, promotions, social media, customer service, going and meeting possible vendors, working on the website, etc., etc., etc. Well, anyway, I had this idea. In 2025, I was brainstorming some new things for RoughGauge, for the social media and for promotions. And I had this idea to start featuring all of our amazing customers, get to know them a little better, use our platform to shine the light on some players and bands that y'all may not know. So since I have this platform over here on the podcast also, I thought, well, wouldn't it be fun to do an episode with that month's featured artist, geek out over gear, which if you know me, you know I love geeking out over all things gear, and expand that month's featured artists coverage beyond just on the website and the social media posts that I had planned. So if you have seen the announcement on the RoughGauge social media page, or if you follow me on social media, I'm sure you saw the announcement. But if you didn't, January's RoughGauge featured artist is Taylor O'Connor, guitarist and vocalist from progressive funk rock band Mosey Beat. Taylor and I start the conversation with him talking about which guitarists have had the greatest influence on his playing style and how they've shaped his approach to music. Taylor talks about being a drummer before a guitar player. He tells me all about his first electric guitar, his OG Jake Blade, his rusty Jake Blade, which I mentioned in our conversation about how during Team RoughGauge meetings, Taylor and his OG Blade come up so often, even when I'm talking to guitar companies or vendors. Even then, Taylor and his OG Blade comes up often. We love and just appreciate his loyalty so much, and that is the major reason why he was the perfect choice to be the one to kick off our featured artist series. And this was so fun too because Taylor has been a guest here on the show numerous times over the years. Actually, if this is your first time ever listening to the show for whatever reason, the music and the intro of this podcast was written by Mosey Beat. So Taylor has been on the show numerous times here over the years, huge supporter of Dropped Among This Crowd and all things DATC media. But he's always been on the show with the full band, and we talked about their stuff. So this was a cool, different conversation that him and I got to have. It was a long time in the making. We've always, conversed back and forth when we're doing RoughGauge stuff and just whatever you can fit through text. So this was fun to finally unleash a nerd. Taylor also talks about when he was first introduced to the Jake Blade, when he brought it into the mix, and how it has enhanced his playing and changed his sound. He shares his go-to guitar when playing live. Taylor takes us through all of his other gear and accessories, straps, strings, picks, amps, all the things. You know I love it. You know I loved this, and you are going to love this too. Taylor gets into a little bit of what Mosey Beat has on deck in 2025 and so much more. I will say I'm very proud of us that we kept this chat under 2 hours because as he says, and like I've mentioned, the same is true for me, we could talk about gear all day. You can read his Q&A and check out the demo video he did for RoughGauge over at roughgaugellc.com/featured artist. I will throw a link in the show notes for that, as well as where you can find Taylor and all things Mosey Beat on the interwebs. I will also link the recent time that Mosey Beat was here on the show, as well as the Sherman theater show he mentions in our chat. Definitely worth your time to watch and jam out to that for sure. And if you are on Patreon or not and want to check out the Mosey Beat content over there, the album release party that we did back in the fall for their newest release, Breakfast for Champions. There's an album review, bio, and more, so much more other content over there. Check it out, patreon.com/datcmediacompany. And check out all things RoughGauge and Jake Blade at roughgaugellc.com. Use my promo code SaraJ10. I will put that in the show notes as well. And you will get 10% off your order with that promo code. And stay tuned to the RoughGauge social media pages to see who's next month's featured artist is. You can also sign up for our email list on the website, and you will get emails when that drops every month and anything else that we have going on. If you don't do the social media thing, that way you are still in the loop. And if you or someone you know would like to be a RoughGauge featured artist, shoot me an email, Sara J at roughgaugellc.com. And that's Sarah without an H. I'm also working on getting the video of our chat up on YouTube so that you can also see all the things that Taylor was showing me. So stay tuned for that. Thank you again so much to Taylor for taking the time to chat and geek out with me. This was so much fun. So much fun. All right, with all that being said, here is my chat with guitarist and RoughGauge featured artist for January 2025, Taylor O'Connor. So tell me, which guitarists have had the greatest influence on your playing style, and elaborate some on how they've shaped your approach to music?
Yeah. There's a lot of guitarists that have shaped me as a musician, and I think that every musician can say that. I don't think anybody ever listens to one guitarist and says, I want to be just like that one only. You know, there's like so many throughout the years that you find, and as your style changes, your taste changes. But for me, there was 3 when I started playing electric guitar. There was Carlos Santana, there's Eddie Van Halen, and yeah, I mean, there's Jake Sininger, there's Rob Campa, there's just so many. It's so hard to, like, when I would first play acoustic guitar, I always liked the Jack Johnson vibe, you know. It's crazy because each one of those people, when you listen to them, they almost all sound different, you know. They all have their own unique style. They all do their own thing. There's, you know, Jimi Hendrix. He was another big one for me. So what's unique to me about being a musician is that if you kind of listen to a bunch of different people and you like what they do and you like all those different styles, when you come play your own music and as you start to tap into your own stuff, your own way of writing, your own creative expressions, you get a totally different bag than what any of those guys do, because they all did the same thing. You know, I can almost guarantee you that every guitar player you love has about 20 other that they loved, you know? So they nobody ever just goes, I love my own playing. And says, you know, it's like, that's the way I play. I love myself. I think everybody goes, I love that guy and 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 some of what he did and some of what they did. And I don't like that guy, but I like that one thing he did. And, you know, so I think that's the kind of cool part about guitar playing. But I will say that a lot of the influences I had really were melodic choices, and that was because I was a drummer before I was a guitar player. So I was developing my ear as a guitarist and using scales like the Dorian scale. it's like everybody knows it's like the jam band trope, it's like everybody uses the Dorian, why wouldn't you use the Dorian? It's like you can play minor, you play Dorian, but you don't have to. But Carlos Santana also used a lot of Dorian, and he had a really, really nice vibe with it. And I always liked the kind of phrasing he would use, and so I kind of tried to mimic some of that, and take that into like my own playing as I was learning how to play scales and solos. And Hendrix, I just loved how loose he could be, and how it was almost like this like gentle roughness. If that it's that's such a paradox, like, but it's like he was gentle, but it felt like it was so crazy, that it was so rough and out there because of the distortion and stuff like that, and the way he would attack the guitar. And so sometimes I like to, kind of get in those zones where it's like I'm not thinking about just hitting the one note. I'm thinking about like ripping across all the strings, even though I'm only going for one note. And if there's a little bit of bleed and play over, it feels like that raw energy thing that he would give off, Eddie Van Halen, another guy who's just a maniac, masterful with his ear, and I took a lot from him with like tapping, like trying to learn tapping riffs. And he was one of the first people that I really enjoyed, like hard rock wise, he's one of the first guitarists that I wanted to kind of emulate with that. And again, when you emulate a guitarist, you're like not trying to be them. Like, yeah, I might own like, the MXR Phase 90 Eddie Van Halen, but like it doesn't make me any more like him,
Right.
Love his style. And then guys like Jake Sinninger, obviously love Humphreys, love what he did. He hooked me right away. Like his style is it's so unique. It goes over all these vast, mountains and valleys, and you almost can't pinpoint them, which is awesome. Like I love that a lot of newer guitarists that I really like, you can't just say, oh, yeah, it's a blues guy, or oh yeah, that's a rock guy. Like especially with a guy like Jake, he's not like just a blues guy or just a rock guy or just a jazz guy. Or just a funk guy. He's like everything.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of good guitarists like that now, and I appreciate that kind of diversity in music. So it really excited me when I found Humphreys because of that. And then, a guy like Rob Campa, who another amazing guitarist in the jam scene, played with Dopapod for how many years and does all his own stuff. And he's another guitar player who, when you listen to him, you're like, what is his style? It's like you can kind of tell it's roots, rooted in rock and jazz and that kind of stuff, the blues and whatever. But it's so cool because he uses all these things that he's listened to and creates music that is uniquely himself, which I find very interesting and cool. And I guess one other guitar player I'll touch on is Guthrie Govan. Amazing guitar player. He is like the jack of all trades. Like he literally just can do everything. He plays with Hans Zimmer, like big composer, and like he'll go on these tours and do all this intense music, like guitar stuff that's like not even supposed to be guitar music, I would say, but like he fits in it somehow so well.
Mm-hmm.
And then is able to like go off and be in a fusion band, like a prog fusion band that is so incredibly talented as a trio. And I being in a trio myself with Mosey Beat, that excites the hell out of me. Like I love seeing trios that can just rip, and they have no vocals. And like they were my top listened to on Spotify this year. They were like number 2 last year. They're the band, the Aristocrats, they call it. And it's so good. And he has a quote that I really like that it kind of ties all this stuff into, is that, how does he say it? He says, if you take from one person, that's stealing. But if you take from many, that's, how's he put it? That's learning. Because if you take from one, you're stealing their ideas. But if you take from many, you're learning. You're just borrowing it all and you're just using it, And that's the kind of thing that I like to think about. It's like you could maybe pick out a riff and be like, that sounds like, one of your influences, but if you put it all together, you just, you have this basket of influence that you create music from. You know?
Definitely. That's one of my favorite things, is finding out who my favorite players were influenced by.
Yes.
That's one of my favorite things to ask people, is like, who are you influenced by and who helped create what we have sitting in front of us?
And it's amazing too, because ask me that 5 years ago, different answer. Ask
Yep.
me that 5 years from now, different answer. Like the root always stays the same, you know, the guys that you grew up with, because you can never lose an influence once you've gotten it, you know, once you've been influenced by it. But, you know, you might be looking at different cats in 5 years than you were 10 years ago, you know. For me, that's exactly how it was. Like, I was totally inspired by acoustic artists like G Love and Jack Johnson and all that kind of vibe. Loved that kind of thing. And when I started playing electric guitar, moved away from the acoustic guitar in like 2011, it was like a whole nother door opened up, you know, because I was like strictly acoustic guitar from 2005 to 2010. And it wasn't until like 2011-ish that I started playing mostly electric guitar, like kind of moving into that realm of things. And then 2012 was still both, but it's like once I hit that point, I was like, yeah, I'm going to perform as an electric guitarist. I don't want to, you know, do the acoustic thing. Because even our band started with acoustic guitar, djembe, and a electric bass guitar, you know. And my style was very much like the G Love kind of rappy, flowy thing with like the funky chords and like a little bluesy. And our band has developed so much from there that it's insane. Like how when you listen to those songs I was writing, that I'm even the same artist, you know.
Yeah.
I do love that about musicians. And I've always been a fan of like reading backstory. I used to love Dave Matthews Band, and I would look him up and see like, oh, where did he learn his guitar stuff from? And I remember he said like he used to learn like all the Cat Stevens stuff because he thought the chicks would like it, you know. So it's like, that's kind of fun. You know,
like, oh, I see you, Dave. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, so I used to learn Matchbox 20, you know, Goo Goo Dolls, like that stuff was popular in the mid 2000s. Like,
yeah,
that's what you learn, you know.
And that's what the chicks do like. Yep. You're not wrong. So talk about your first electric guitar.
Okay. So my first electric guitar I did get in 2006. It was a white Ibanez Art Series. It kind of looked like a Les Paul. I do not have that guitar anymore. I sold that in 2010. And it was like not played that much. I had one of these. If you're a guitar player, you know the Line 6 Spider amps. They had a setting called Insane, and it was just like this super crunchy, like just the worst distortion you ever heard. And it's awesome because like you would like as a young guitarist, I was like what 15. I like turn it on. I'm like, you know, just playing power chords on it, and
of
it sounds
course
awesome, you know. But yeah, so like I was always like an acoustic guitar player, so I never even like barely touched that. I got it because I thought I wanted to play electric. And I did play in my first band ever called County Down. We were like sophomores in high school. We did a battle of the bands, and that was like the only time I played electric guitar outside of like my own playing. I always played acoustic, you know. So I used it for that. I'm pretty sure there's a photo of me somewhere with that band. It was like at a YMCA gym, and there was like 6 bands. It was so awesome. Yeah.
Oh man, Battle of the Bands. They still do that?
They do, yeah. That was 2006, I want to say, or 7, something like that. I think it was 2006. So that was, I mean, almost 19 years ago now, right? But then after that, like my first electric guitar that I got for Mosey Beat was actually a Hagstrom, a Super Swede, which is another one that kind of looks like a Les Paul. I had a Sunburst one, which I always love, the kind of like orange sunbursty thing. And I ended up selling that to get a GNL, my first GNL, which I got a Legacy. This guy, I still have it. It was a new old stock. It was a 2007. I bought it in 2017. So I held the Hagstrom for like 5 years, but I got my Jake Blade on there always.
Always.
But yeah, it's a G&L Legacy. It's one of the older ones. You can tell there's a little dot on the back there. That's where they would hang the necks when they would spray them.
Mm-hmm.
So you can tell that's the old ones because the newer ones don't have that in there. And the serial number too, the way that they write it out, you know that it's an older. So it's 2007. This thing is like the perfect guitar for somebody who liked Les Pauls because the neck is so wide, like just so deep. Feels like a baseball bat almost. You know, it's like a Telly style or something. Big C neck. So I loved this guitar. Still love this guitar. And it sounds great. Seymour Duncan pickup in the bridge there. And then these are those Alnico 5s for the neck and middle pickups. Has coil tap. It's, you know, it was like the best guitar I could buy for myself. I think I paid like $700 after the trade-in. So it was like crazy good deal, you know.
Yeah, that's a great deal. It's gorgeous.
I also have my very first Strat style guitar over here. Hold on. I knew I was gonna have to do this in my music studio room. I'm like, I have to show everything.
We gotta show all the things.
So this is a 1991 STX Charvel. It's the deluxe model, and you can see I got a Jake blade on that one too. I got
Is that like a gray silvery color?
Yeah, so this is a really unique color. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see it because of the reflection. There you are.
There I am.
So you can actually, it's translucent. So it's like kind of a black translucent paint. And I was playing an open mic one time, like an open jam out in Pittsburgh, and I was underneath a black light. I looked down and the guitar was glowing green. And I was like, what? So from what I understand, it's like a UV reflective paint, which makes sense for like 1991 that they would have done something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, it looks black to me, but then, yeah, I put it underneath that light and it was like green. I was like, that is insane.
Cool.
Yeah, it was so cool. And it wouldn't show up on a picture. Like me and Blair were trying to take a picture and we couldn't get it to show up. But I swear, I was in the right mind. It was it was just
it was doing it, I promise.
It was. So this guitar was like my first Strat style after the Hagstrom. So I bought the Hagstrom, and then a couple months later I bought this. I bought them both from Dave Phillips Music and Sound, which used to be the music shop in our town that I worked at for years. And I think I actually bought both of these before I started working there, but it was like my hometown music shop that I grew up going to. And so I got these, and then I found out about Jake blades. I think I bought these in 2012 or 13, and I went to my first Humphreys concert in 2013, and I saw the Jake blade. And like a year later, I think I found it online, or Blair found it online. I forget if he bought me the first one or if I bought it myself. I bought him one. He's bought me one. Who knows when. So he's got one on his GNL that he doesn't really play, but you know, we have one.
Gotta have one.
And so this is my original Jake blade. It was before they switched over to the I think they use titanium or something now. It's a little thinner, which is kind of cool. I don't really think it makes much of a difference, the thickness of it, but it's all scratched up and rusty, and I think I can see why they switched away from using
For
this
sure.
now. So if you're going to buy one, you're not going to get one like this. It's not going to look like this. And these were also like they were like on sale on the website for a little while on Humphreys, and then they weren't. And then like I don't even remember how I got, because I acquired like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we have 6 of them. One for every guitar pretty much that has a tremolo. You can't live without it, you know?
Yeah.
So, and over the years, like we just bought different ones, and I didn't even know that they changed materials. I was just like not paying attention. But I noticed this one always rusted, and I always thought it looked cool. I was like, that looks dope, you know? But
I think it's cool. We talk about it's funny. We'll have meetings, we'll have company meetings and stuff, and we talk about you and your rusty blade like pretty often, actually.
There it is.
And you don't want to replace. You want to
Nope.
keep it.
This is mine.
OG.
I'm keeping it. I think this one had a number on it scratched in here somewhere. Let's see if I can find it. I think one of mine was like 269, which I thought was cool. This one is, oh, there's the number. I can't read it.
It's so faded.
It's like right underneath the scratches too. I can't even read it. There looks like there's a 9 at the end. This might be the 269 one. I don't remember.
It's interesting.
But that's it. And so with this one, my stepdad took it to his shop at work and ground the post down because I bought one for a G&L and I didn't own a G&L. I owned a Charvel, and it wouldn't fit in my my tremolo post. So he took it, he ground the post down for me, and it was like a little too much ground down. So now I had tried building it back up. I've used rubber cement, I've used tape. Just once in a while, I just have to like rewrap some tape around it and then shove it back in, and like it just stays in there and it works. I've never lost it. It still works and it stays in position pretty well. Like I like to keep it out like that. Sometimes people use it like that, and that works too. But I just always I felt like I get more leverage with it further out here, and you can put your thumb there, and so that's the original one. That's the Charvel STX. But yeah, that's my original Strat style guitar that got me my first Jake blade.
Love it. So elaborate then on using the Jake blade, how it's enhanced your playing and changed your sound since you brought it into the mix.
Yeah. So if you've ever played with a whammy bar or with a tremolo system, like the most fun thing to do is just wah, 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 wah. That's the most fun thing to do, right? With the Jake blade, there was so much more you can do with it, easier. Like I should say, like the learning curve is like a lot easier, but it goes longer. Like I'm not a master of the whammy bar. There are guys like Guthrie Govan, Mark Lettieri, amazing with a whammy bar, like Eddie Van Halen, And I feel like there's so much they can do with it that I like never put the time into to figure out. But with the Jake blade, I just found it like was so comfortable to use, Like I used to try a whammy bar with my Squire, with my Charvel, with whatever I had. But once I got the Jake blade, it was like I couldn't play without it because you could do things. Let me pick up a guitar. You could do things with the guitar that are different than a whammy bar. So, for instance, almost gives you like kind of like a tremolo-y vibe. Like you're pulling the guitar in and out of tune, and I can go faster or slower with it. Like get that warble, So for like instance, if I'm starting a song off with the band and I want elongated notes, I always add it in. It's just like a habit thing now. Because if I could just do this. And that sounds fine, right? But it doesn't have as much character. And that subtle pitch shift is what's so unique about it, because it's such a subtle pitch shift, right? You have this note that's just slightly wavering, kind of like if you were to bend the string like that, but you can't bend a whole chord, But if you pick up a whammy bar to do that touch thing, it's able to be done. Obviously, it's the same system. It just is a little more bulky with that bar, and your touch has to be so much lighter. Whereas this, you can kind of like brace yourself against the guitar and as much or as little as you want on it, So that's one thing that immediately was like a game changer for me. It was like, oh, I can take chords and I can extend out this vibrato sound, and the same way you would with a single note, and it's just more controllable. That's one thing I really love about it, is how controllable it is. Another thing that I use it for is like if you're doing harmonics. Let's see. I always like to add a little bit in there because again, it takes that warble adds just like a little bit of texture, and especially in a full band context, it's nice because you're not taking away from anything. You're literally adding just a little bit of spice, if you will, little flavor. So that's like one of the main things I use the Jake Blade for is that warbling, which is it's in my opinion like one of the coolest parts about having it. Because if you have a big bar there and you're gonna try to use the bar for it or whatever, it's all right here in your way. This, you just reach back a little bit. It's not that hard to kind of get used to doing that. It just becomes like an easy motion. It's all right here. You're basically able to just do that, go from picking to Jake Blade, picking to Jake Blade. And it's so cool. I mean, everybody always would grab the bridge. Everybody always did that for years. People would always do that, but get under your fingers underneath there and really get control over it. Again, possible, but it's a lot easier with the blade, Again, that's like one of the main advantages of having a Jake Blade. It's like, if you have a tremolo, why would you not use the tremolo? A lot of people find the bar a little bulky, so.
I think it's just so much more aesthetically pleasing too. I've always I don't play, which people find is an interesting fun fact about me. I just don't have the patience right now in my life. But I've always just loved everything about the electric guitar and just the look of it and just all the things. But I always felt like the whammy bar was such an awkward thing. It's funny because like even as a kid, I'd be like, that's so ugly. It just like sticks out like that. And why is it doing that? And then, now I, grow up and work with RoughGauge. And I just think it's so much more aesthetically pleasing on a guitar also.
I mean, yeah, how cool does it look? It's like, what the hell am I looking at? And you're like, that is so cool. I want
it
one.
really, and like that's what I love about it is it helps enhance the body too, the look of the body, and it helps you. I feel like for me, it's almost like when you're in a room and there's like an awkward piece of furniture. Like I look at the whammy bar first, but
yeah, because
like
it's just kind of sticking out there.
Because it's sticking out, but otherwise you can get the full beauty of the body of the guitar itself. And then it's all just like dangling down. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, like, look at that thing. I mean, this is an old Kramer, this is like probably like a student model Kramer back in the day.
Definitely.
80s. But look at that thing.
Exactly. It feels so
the only reason I have this on here, I have this one on here because I have this tuned to like half step down, so like E flat. So like when I'll sometimes mess around with like hair metal because who doesn't? And like this is my hair metal guitar,
Definitely.
or like my heavier guitar for that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's in there. It's awkward and I never got into the habit of playing with the bar in my hand. Like a lot of people can do it. They can keep the bar on their pinky, whatever, and play. I never got into that habit. Just never became a thing for me. I'd rather do the reach back and pull on the bridge, which I did for a long time with my Charvel, like 2 years before I got a Jake Blade. I don't know if I didn't know what they were called, or it was probably that. I probably didn't know what they were called. And I was like, I saw it on Jake's guitar and Brendan's guitar, and I probably tried to figure it out and couldn't. And then one day it showed up on like the Unfree site, and I was like, yeah, gotta buy it. See, I almost went and grabbed the cable because I'm all the way back here. I'm not trying to talk crap on whammy bars just to talk crap on them. I personally am not a whammy bar player, but I love a vibrato tremolo, like I want something that does that kind of thing, And you can do it with a regular whammy bar. You can. I just prefer the Jake Blade. I really do. It's, So, yeah, that's what else is there that I could there's a lot I could talk about.
Well, talk about which guitar is your go-to to play live?
So this is like number one. This is G&L Comanche. if I have this guy on the guitar, that's usually my main guitar. So I've been putting this same bracelet on that I got at some shop in New Hope, Pennsylvania in like 2008 on my main guitar since then. I just put it around the headstock and I don't know. I like it. I think it's fun. So that's how I know which one my main guitar is. If I ever like, lose almost all my memory, I'll be like, oh, that's my main guitar. So this is like number one. It's the Comanche. They're amazing. They've got the Z coil split pickups, which is basically like a humbucking pickup. But they're a little more like a Strat sound. It's got a coil tap. When I bought this one, I replaced the pickguard. It had a white pearlite pickguard, and I put the tortoise shell, and it had white pickup covers, and I put black, and then I got silver knobs because I like the knurled knobs, and it came with plastic. So little upgrades to but otherwise it's a stock guitar. It's like 100% stock. Always leave the back plate off. Easy adjustment, string changes. I know some people are like, well, if the spring breaks, it's going to cut your intestines open. And I said, I've never broken a spring, so I don't think that's going to happen.
That's
but it could.
Incredibly morbid.
Yeah, it's I get it. Like, okay, it's right here. So what if I dive the bar? The spring's going to go snap and cut into me? I don't think so. I don't think that's how it works.
That's an intense thing to say.
That's real rock and roll.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so this is probably my main guitar. So there's a couple things you could do with the Jake plate too that's really fun. Like it's kind of like that same idea of like adding in that tremolo effect, but like you use it like more rhythmically there, and it becomes like a part of the song then, it's like an actual thing. So that's another thing I'll use it for is like bending a note. You can just kind of reach back there and kind of push your palm on, which is kind of fun too. So if you I guess you'd kind of like it's like you're pre-bending the string and then you release it when you slide up to the next note, which is really fun because that just like adds a little bit of character to the slide. I'd say it's like you don't like focus on the Jake blade as like a thing that you're like playing as an instrument, like because it's just part of the guitar. Like you just play the guitar like you would play the guitar, but now you have an easier way to use your tremolo system, an easier way to grab the tremolo. Because, if you're like anybody else that used to just grab the back of it, now you just have a little spot that you can grab and it doesn't have to do that big whammy thing, So it's like one of those things you got to play it too. You have to like trust that you're going to like it and just like grab one, put it on your guitar and know like it's going to take like a month to get used to it. And then you're going to find all these little things you can do with it that you're like, oh, well, that's kind of neat. I never thought to do that before. And I noticed myself, like, it's hard to do some of this stuff, like when you're just playing by yourself. But like when I'm playing solos and stuff like that with the band, if you're like in the middle of a solo and you're like really ripping on something, you can kind of just like grab it and use it like in like a dive bomb fashion. In that kind of sense, it's like you kind of, you're playing a solo, and then you get these kind of like little bends out of it that are like that you're not doing with your fingers. So it's, it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. And like you said earlier in our conversation, it's about taking these little pieces and bringing them into your own playing and what you can do with it.
Yeah, exactly. That's 100% what music is about in general too. And, the Jake blade is going to be the same thing. You can watch Jake Sinninger use it all day long or anybody that uses one. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, that's kind of cool. Let me work on something like that. You might find 10 other things that you like to do with the Jake blade that now just become a part of your writing or your playing style.
Well, and it's very interesting just with Humphreys having two guitar players and both of them have a Jake blade on their guitar. They both use it very differently.
100% they do. I've watched them both.
Yeah.
I know it's like it's almost like they're two completely different players. It's like, and it's like keeps going back to it, or it's like that guy has his 100% influence, even though he listens to Jake all day or Jake listens to Brendan all day. They don't sound anything alike, and that's so cool. And they use the Jake blade differently, and everybody's going to.
So, besides Jake Blade, what are some of your other must-have accessories and gear?
That's a good question. I'm like kind of a strap for every guitar kind of guy. This one I have the strap off right now, but I have like a green one for this one. I've got a brown one for my blue guitar, a blue one for my other orange guitar. I got a cool leather one for my Charvel. I like to have I like the guitar to have its own strap, like its own personality,
It has to.
And then guitar picks wise, like I'm using Red Bear. They're like the Jazz XL type, a little bit bigger than a Jazz 3 pick. If you're a guitar player, you probably know Jazz 3s. Everyone knows like Eric Johnson and all those guys use them. These are a little bigger. They're a little smaller than like a traditional Dunlop pick. But these are really comfortable picks. They're a little pricey, but they're made from casein, which is kind of like a material that feels natural, but is totally not. But it's supposed to mimic like tortoise shell. So these are better for the turtles. And you don't have to take a tortoise shell and make a pick out of it. You just use a different material. What's cool about these though is that you can bevel the edges back. So once a guitar pick gets worn out a while with the plastic ones, it's just junk. It's garbage. With these ones, you can wear them out and then re-bevel the edges with some fine grit sandpaper and get it back to like a brand new pick. And you can do this like I've had this pick over a year and I haven't lost it because Molly got me an awesome pick box that I use for my pick, so I never lose it. And I have a couple backups that I'll have on the in the guitar bag with me. But it's so cool because like if the pick wears out, I have a little sandpaper thing. I just keep the angle, rub it like that, and then bam, back to fresh. So this is like a must-have anymore. I used to use the Delrite Graffin Adamas style pick that like Jerry used and Trey, and I think Jake uses a Telefunken version.
Yep.
It's like the Adamas style. And I'll be honest, the reason I switched these was because I went to go buy some more of the Telefunken style ones, the Adamas style graphite ones, and they weren't selling them anymore. And I was like, they had like a yellow color and a white color, and I was like, I only use the black, so I'm not gonna buy those. And I saw that they're not making them anymore, so I was like, well, I have a stock a little bit of them, but let me try some new picks. And I was interested in trying a pointier pick because I think I have one. So this is the like Telefunken style pick.
Yep.
And then this is what I'm playing with now.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Big difference.
The shape is totally different, right? So,
Yep.
And one thing I noticed with these picks, I like them. They're a little slippery still, even with the grip.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that it's not hard because I played with them so long. It feels more like work to get around a string when you're picking down the strings fast. It feels a little bit more like work to get over that. Whereas this one being a little sharper and a little less beefy on the sides because it comes down to a finer point. It could all be in my head, but it's whatever makes you feel most comfortable playing is what I always find,
I don't think that it is all in your head. I could tell, but my ears are special, so
yes. So I switched from those to these, and I love it. I think that they're great. These are Red Bear picks. There's a couple other brands. Honey Picks makes one that is similar, and I've been trying theirs out a little bit. I like them. I think they're both great. The Red Bears, I think, are a little bit more refined currently. But Honey Picks is like a small company out of, I want to say North Carolina. I think it's actually Taylor, North Carolina, which I thought was unique.
I like that.
But yeah, I liked their pick too. I think I have one. This is what I'm looking for.
Oh, I love it. Look at this. It's amazing.
There's too many in here to find it. Is this one? No, that's Hawkpick. They're kind of similar company too, but they're from the UK. Hawkpick. Yeah, there's so many companies that make it. If you're interested in guitar players, check out Hasten Picks. Oh, here's one.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, the grip pattern on this one's really neat. So I chose to get that grip pattern. The one thing I would do next time I order from them is not let them bevel it, because they bevel it like crazy hard to start. So I like a little slighter bevel.
That's so cool. Those are neat. Ooh, that's cool.
So it's cool because they mix this material together and they can get like whatever colors. Like this, like one I have is called like Clown Barf, I think.
I really like that color. Interesting name choice.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was fun. I was like, oh, Clown Barf, I'll buy that.
I mean, you have to just for the name in itself.
Yeah, exactly. I've got like wooden picks too. These are fun for acoustic, for different sounds. I have a metal pick somewhere. Here's one. It's like a metal pick. It's like kind of unique. It sounds like a little tinny or something.
Interesting.
Pretty cool though. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's kind of like using like metal finger picks,
Yeah.
but just for a regular pick.
Yeah. So talk to me about strings.
Okay. Yeah, so strings. I just put a string on this today because it was out of commission. These guys. D'Addario Pro Steels, just normal 10 to 46.
Of course. Very
Pro
familiar
Steel,
with that package.
Yeah. Yep, D'Addario. Everybody loves D'Addario. I worked at the music shop in town, like I might have mentioned earlier. I used to work at the music shop, and so I would get my strings there, obviously. And before I worked there, I would buy them too. But I tried every different string manufacturer we carried. We carried DR, we carried Ernie Ball, we carried all the Martin stuff, all the Taylor like Elixir strings. But D'Addario was the ones I stuck with, and I started using the Pro Steels because it's actually funny. I was, for some reason, I was like playing through a speaker that I knew didn't have a lot of high end, and I was like, man, my guitar sounds bassy, and like I would EQ it, but then it'd be like, oh, that EQ doesn't sound good. So I found an EQ I kind of liked, but then one day I bought Pro Steels and I put them on, and they're a little brighter, like just slightly brighter than nickel wound, because they're a steel core, steel wound, but they eat the hell out of your frets, because I have nickel frets on all my guitars. I want to get on this guitar and on my Blue Charvel, which I'll show later on, I want to get steel frets put on, because once you get those frets and they crown them, you pretty much are good for 10 years on the frets. Like they don't wear out. These frets, the Charvel I originally had, like all those frets, there's like divots and stuff where the strings are wearing it out because it's a really hard steel string. But yeah, so anyway, I put them on and I was like, oh, the brightness, there's so much more brightness in these strings. And like it made my amp sound better. So I've been using Pro Steels since like 2014. And I just like love them. I buy them in packs of 10 because I know I'm going to use them, and that's what I use. I'd love for a little D'Addario sponsor maybe, but maybe down the road. But yeah, I love the D'Addario Pro Steels. They sound good, they feel good. That's the other thing, is like the tension. It feels like there's something under your finger. Like sometimes, and like especially the 10 to 46, like I love that vibe. I don't like going higher than that. I've tried 11s, I've tried 12s, I tried 13s once. That was a mistake. And like I just like the feel of 10s. I don't like 9s. I think 9s feel too light. Like every guitar that you pick up in a guitar store typically has 9s shipped with it. And I like can never tell what it feels and sounds like. I'm like, because my fingers are used to 10s, I would like overbend a string like crazy. But yeah, I've always been comfortable with the 10 to 46, and the Pro Steels, just they have a certain sound to them. And I use a non-wound G string too, which I know a lot of guitar players would be like, up in the air, different about it. Some guys are like, gotta have wound G strings. And I found that that's one of the strings that I do the most vibrato on. And if I had a wound one, it would always wear out on that spot. Like the core would be showing underneath the wound because I vibrato on that string a ton. I think that the plain G string holds its tune better too. I use a wound G string for acoustic guitars, but not for the electric. So that's what I use, the Pro Steels. I love them. I think they're the best string that I've ever bought.
Big fan.
Yes.
So,
fanboy.
I love it. So if you won the lottery tomorrow, what would be the first guitar or piece of gear that you would buy?
Ooh, how much we talk? Like what lottery?
You won the lottery. Like
Like
won
unlimited money.
Yeah, you got like the win
$1
flight.
million.
Yeah.
Yeah. The win
Yeah,
for life.
you're like good. You can buy whatever you want.
All right, so I would buy a Dumble amp, which like if anybody knows them, I'm sure a lot of guitar players do. Like I would buy one just so I could have one. I don't even care if I play it or not. Like John Mayer has like 3, and they cost more than my house. It's like insane.
Mm-hmm.
I have a Fuchs Full House 50, which he designed the circuit originally off the ODS, and then tweaked it and kind of put in his own things. Andy Fuchs is the builder out of New Jersey, and I love the sound of it. It is a Dumble-esque amp, but I'd say it's not really Dumble-y. So I'd say Dumble would be like the first thing I buy. I'll just buy like some ODS, whatever. If I could get one like Carlos had, I think he had a different model. He might have had ODSs at first, and then he had something else, and I can't remember. There's like a couple that they made. Might have been a train wreck. I think he might have had. I don't know. But if I could get one of his though, his name inside the cabinet, that would be cool.
I mean, we're over here talking about lottery winning, so I mean,
yeah, I should be able to afford that at that
for
point.
sure. Let's go big. We're going big here.
Might have to sell my house, but spend all my lottery winnings on it.
Worth it.
Yeah, that would be my piece of gear. Would be the Dumble.
Nice. So why don't you tell us what your band Mosey Beat has coming up in 2025?
Sure. Yeah, so we've got a couple of things already on the books and a few things in the works. So we're hoping for good turnouts on that stuff. But we have a lot of Northeast shows that we have booked within an hour of our area, which is like the Bethlehem, Pennsylvania area. So our website always has that info. And we just released a album in September, so we're kind of still pushing on that, which is great. And we have a couple of festival dates that should be announced shortly, hopefully within the next couple months. So keep an eye out for the festival dates, because I can't really say them yet because we don't have contracts signed. But they should be out soon enough, hopefully. And other than that, we're going to be releasing more live music from, on our Bandcamp page and on our archive page. And again, all that's linked on our website, moseybeat.com. Writing more music. We've been working on tunes in the basement again and just kind of getting another album together. We're not rushing anything, but we got, I think 4 that we're currently working on and 5 other riffs that we have that we're kind of trying to toy around with, get those riffs down and see what fits. The most recent one that we've been working on is almost complete. We have one that's totally complete, and then we have a new one that we just started the other day that feels so good. Like I can't wait to play. That one's gonna be really fun. Blair's got some really fucking heavy stops putting the drums. Tommy's got some sick bass line. He was a guitar player before he played bass, and I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, guitar players don't make good bass players. I think he might be the exception to the rule, because he has some lines that he's written that I'm like, holy shit, that sounds better than bass players that I've played with and heard and everything else that, like, in general. It's like, that's insane. I love it,
Amazing.
Yeah, so he's got his bass line in that song is really fun, and Blair's good drums. It's going to be like a pretty epic feeling tune. So I'm stoked on that. That one I'm really stoked on.
I'm excited.
Yeah, that's a good one. Once we get the demo down, I'll send it over your way.
Awesome. I can't wait. Fuck yeah. Awesome. Well, is there anything else? You feel like there isn't anything that we covered?
For the band, I mean, for the band, we don't have much more than what I said. A couple shows are going to be announced soon for the festival season, and going to try and work ourselves around the Northeast a little bit. And that again, got to keep your eyes peeled on moseybeat.com. Oh, we've got art dropping soonish.
Yeah,
probably in the next month or so. That if you were a part of the stream with the album release, you've seen and had an opportunity to purchase a piece of this artwork by Mark Serlo. And so we'll have some.
Mine hangs in my living room.
Yeah, it's a sweet looking print. And we've got a few of those prints left, and then we're not doing another run of the prints, but we'll have probably a run of shirts and a run of hats and all the good stuff, some new stickers and stuff.
My car needs a Mosey Beat sticker, so
we used to have one. This is not a PG show, right? We used to have one that we made up that said Mosey Beat, that'll put hair on your balls. And he's like, it's like friends we know that are local. She had one on her van, and she said they had to junk the van, and they said the thing they missed most about that van was that sticker. She said my kids loved it, all their friends loved it. It's like I was like, man, maybe we have to do another run of those.
You do, because I totally want one.
Yeah.
My kids would think that's great too.
We did like 100 stickers, and we were like, oh, that they won't go that quick, not realizing that everybody else is still a 12-year-old too, right? And everybody took them. People were like, can I get 3? Can I get 4? I'm like, yeah, you can have them. We got rid of them like a week, maybe 2 weeks. I'm like, man, we should have got more. But that was like maybe 2 years ago we had those printed, and we just haven't gotten any more of them. And it's like sometimes it's like, that element of like, I have that, you don't,
Yep.
Like I'm on the inside. But yeah, I think we will have to do another run. We
have to do another like small limited edition run or something.
Like we'll do a batch of 50 or something. And it's like maybe if you order from the website, you get a sticker. I
like this idea. Marketing at its finest.
Right. But yeah, other than that, I mean, what else to cover with the Jake Blade? One thing I used to think was cool with the Jake Blades, I'm trying to see if I have boxes. Oh yeah, I do have one. Oh, this is one of the newer ones. They send you in this little box, which is cool. I have a box that has a signature from Jake.
Signatures on the side. Yep.
Yeah, this one doesn't have it, but I think that was always really cool, like a limited signature box.
I know. I think that I've brought that up. That's something that we need to be bringing back for sure.
100%. I think that's like an enticing. That might be why I bought one of the other ones, was because of the signature on the box. I think I have it downstairs in the jam space. Yeah, actually, I know I do. It's on my mixing console table. But yeah, that is a really, really fun thing about the Jake Blades. Like you're kind of on again, it's like that. Hey, look what I got. Like you're like an insider. I've had so many people come up to me at shows and just say, "Hey, what's that thing?" And I'm like, Jake Blade, and they're like, "What's a Jake Blade?" Well, this guy Jake Singer from Humphreys McGee, and they made this thing for him. It's basically like a tremolo bar replacement. I was like, it works really well, and I always give him the little demo of the chords, like I showed you guys, and I think that the more people that hear about it, the more people are like, "Oh, that's really cool," because I've talked to so many people now about this thing, and they love it. Everybody loves it, but not everybody's a guitar player that asks me to, and the guitar players, a lot of times, there's guys who don't play with tremolo systems, so I get it. But I really hope that, they look at it and go, "Oh, I want one," because like Sarah said, it looks so cool. Like it just does, But I mean, I love the Jake Blade. I think that it's one of the coolest tools to use on the guitar. Like I've always thought that since I started using one. And it's I have some music online, like with my band on Spotify and stuff, Mosey Beat. and YouTube, and you can see me using the Jake blade or hear me using the Jake blade all over it. It's just subtly in there. It's not because it's not really meant to be in your face. The Jake blade is not meant to be the focal point of your guitar playing. It's supposed to enhance what you already do. And I think that's one thing that in the age that we're in with everything being so present, it's like you see like ads all over the place for a Peloton or for this or for that. And it's like, this is supposed to be the best thing ever. And it's like, this is the best thing ever. But just because you're playing guitar and the guitar playing that you do now has another outlet, you now have something else to add in. It's kind of like playing with an EBow. If anybody knows what an EBow is, it's the thing you hold over the strings and it vibrates the string continuously, and you're able to slide and do all these cool notes with it. And some people are really good and can do sweeping with it. I've never been that good with it. But that's a really unique tool. And it's just another tool that you can use that it's like a whammy bar because it technically is the same thing. It's just so much easier to use and to adapt and to add into your songwriting and to your playing. And I think that's pretty. I mean, I said it once, I'll say it 100 times because it really is like the coolest thing, to be able to use. I'd say that this is really suitable for rock guitarists, for jazz guitarists, funk guitarists, even. There's definitely a place in music, in that realm, in the jam band realm, for anybody to grab one of these for their guitar. And, you don't have to think like, oh, well, I'm not going to use something just because Jake does it. It's like you use it because you want to do it, because you want to use a Jake blade. And that's like super important,
See what it can enhance to your playing and your sound.
Exactly. And if it makes you feel weird to say it's a Jake blade, just call it a JB or a B or a blade, or, call it a blade. A lot of people call it a blade. Why not?
Blade. Yeah.
What's that? Oh, it's my blade. You don't have to put Jake in front of it if you're talking to your friends or whatever, if you feel weird about it.
And even I feel it again, just sitting here looking at you holding that guitar. It's just so aesthetically pleasing. It's just, it enhances the beauty of the guitar itself also. Not just enhancing the sound and enhancing what the player produces. I think it also really enhances the beauty of the guitar itself.
It elevates the look 100%.
Which is all about, if you know me, I'm all about aesthetic and the way things look and all that kind of stuff. So for me, that was my biggest draw to it, not being a player. I mean, the sound, because tone and everything is my jam too. So as soon as I'm like, the tone and the look of it, I'm sold, and I don't even play.
Yeah. No, and it just is, it does look so cool. I mean, I love looking at my guitars that have Jake blades, and I think they do look really cool. I think it just looks better all around. It just allows the body and the fullness of the shape of the guitar to just be fully appreciated, because you don't have this awkward thing hanging off of it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could see it really well on this one too, because it's up against blue. That it really does look like an amazing. It's like a total enhancement. Yeah, total enhancement to the guitar. So this guitar is my second main guitar. We were talking about main guitars before. This is a Charvel. This one is a DK 24, so it's 24 fret. My first 24 fret guitar too, which means I have 2 full octaves on every string. Most guitars are 22 fret strats. The super strats were the 24 fret guys, and so it's cool because you get your E. You get there, you get to E here, and then you get one all the way up there. Usually you only get that note, which is a whole step less, But yeah, it's the Jake blade itself. It's a compliment to the guitar. Now this one, the output jack, I have to work on, so I haven't been playing this one.
I like the ocean blue color of that.
Yeah, so I don't really name my guitars, but Blair was like, you should call this one Tsunami. And I was like, that's a good idea. He's like, yeah, because it's like kind of more of a metal guitar, and it's like the blue kind of ocean, like wave thing. It's got
It's
the
like that deep ocean
flame
blue
maple.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Gorgeous.
So I think that's what we call it, tsunami.
I like it.
Yeah, so again, like there's so much you can do with this thing. Even if you're playing like a funky thing. You add it in just like as these subtle little things that like nobody's ever going to notice it until they see you using it, and that's when they focus on it and they're like, what the hell is that? If you're listening to music, you're just going to be like, oh, that sounds cool. You might not know why it's doing that, but the inquiring minds like to know it's Jake Blade. It's the tremolo system on the guitar. It's a Jake Blade. It's such a simple piece of kit that it's like, yeah, why don't you have it? The other thing that looks really cool with it is like when you have like a sweet 1960s Ludwig in the back too. It's really cool. That was my stepdad's kit that he bought a smaller kit for his house, and he let me keep that one because that was the one I learned on and stuff. Me and Blair both learned on that kit.
That's cool.
That's in my jam room now until Blair gets his own house.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's a nice little space you got there.
Oh yeah, I like it up here. It's a nice little development into my creative world.
Does your space have a name yet? Did you give it a name yet?
No, but I did hang my dartboard the other day, so that's like I'm starting.
All right.
Starting to get it to make it my own.
Yep, it's happening. It's happening. It's coming to life.
It's all coming together. I'll get some posters on the wall soon.
I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this was a lot of fun. Is there anything else you want to add? I'm just like geeking out so hard over here over all the things. I'm excited to listen back to all this and edit everything and listen again and just.
Yeah, I feel like I like touched on everything that I can say about a Jake Blade. I mean, if you're interested, I have the Jake Blade demo that I did for Sara a couple months back. I'd love for you to check that out. It's on RoughGauge website. Scroll down to the bottom. You'll see me standing there with the guitar, it's if you have any questions at all, you could always, ask me on at Mosey Beat, on Instagram, Mosey_Beat, or, contact me on Instagram or send us an email or something. If you're, you don't want to ask Sara directly about the Jake Blade or something, or if you want to know more from a player standpoint, if I didn't touch on something, please reach out. Love to share what I know about it. And I really, I'm not just some guy that like decided to choose a Jake Blade yesterday. Like I want you to be that guy that decided to choose the Jake Blade today. I started using it years ago and I love it, and it's like it really has become a part of my personality as a guitar player. And there's some good audio examples from Humphreys and from my band. We have, like I said, some footage on YouTube and stuff, and you can see it and use we did a Sherman Theater video. It was March 9th, 2024. If you look up Mosey Beat live at the Sherman Theater, it should pop up there. You'll see good video, good close-ups of me using it, and you can hear it in action with the band. And it's really one of the most interesting things made for a guitar in like recent years. Like the tremolo system's been around since the 60s or late 50s, maybe it was that he had the patent. I forget when exactly. It's somewhere around there.
And nobody has done anything. It's always just been the
closest thing we got to like an enhancement was 2 posts instead of like the 6 screws, and then like Floyd Rose doing like his thing and the fully floating trem, but everybody still just used the bar. So this is, if you really think about it as an inventive technique over as long as it's been, it's crazy that nobody else thought to do this. And it really is one of those things you gotta try one. You just have to. You can't judge it based on looking at somebody else use it. You have to see how it fits into your playing and how it does enhance that sound as you play, because it is a feel thing, just like strings and picks are. It's you're gonna like the feel of it. you know.
Yep.
But I definitely think you would not go wrong to buy one and use it. I think that's pretty much all I have to say about it. It's like I can't push it enough. I love it. It's so fun.
And well, it's nice too that I tell a lot of people too that it's not a permanent fixture. So if you want to go back and forth, if you want to do a song with a Jake Blade and a song with your whammy bar, like you can, it's interchangeable. And so you're not bound to it being on there if that's the choice you make. You can.
That's a very good
go back
point
and
for
forth.
studio guys or guys who, like I know a lot of guys who are studio session guys that want a guitar with a whammy, and they want a guitar that's just a solid tailpiece like a Gibson Les Paul or something, and it makes sense. But now this is another piece of kit that you can have to make your Strat do something different.
Yep.
To make that Strat just more versatile. And I know that they make them for a bunch of different bridges already, and I don't know. I don't want to speak out of turn. I think that they're working on being able to make them for kind of whatever if you want it.
Yeah, we're trying. It's working with the guitar companies and getting the metrics and showing the guitar companies too that we are not trying to reinvent what they're doing. That again, we're here to enhance it and give players an option.
Yes, I think that's totally what is happening. It's like you're totally giving people options. That's all it is.
Well, it's funny too. There's just so much old school mentality to a lot of the guitar community and to players and things. There's just so many that are so rooted in, well, that's just the way that it's always been, and it's just the way that it has to be. And it's like, well,
if that was the case for everything, I mean, we'd all be playing stand-up bass and guitars that are acoustic. If that's the way it always was, like we wouldn't even have a guitar. We'd all be playing lutes. And
literally, I'm like, but wait a minute.
Yeah,
no.
There's like we would never have gotten the piano. We would just be playing harpsichords.
It's about being innovative and having these new things, and it's a choice. It's an option. It's an add-on. It's
like, don't get me wrong, man. Like I love tube amps. I use tube amps. That's what I own. But I'm not going to put down a modeler for, if you like using modelers, use a modeler, I'm just not going to buy one because I already have tube amps that I can do what I want with them. If I was in a studio session, and I couldn't do what I wanted with the amps I have, then yeah, maybe a modeler would be the best route to go. But it's kind of the same thing. It's like, if you can't do what you want to with your whammy bar, why not use a Jake Blade then? And that's the way that I looked at it.
Than buying any of the other things that you would find in the accessories.
Oh, and I've bought a million accessories. I remember working at the music shop. I would get a paycheck and like half of it would go back to the music shop. I bought this thing one time.
Only half?
Only half. I had to eat too. Yeah. I didn't make much money there. Yeah,
like,
working at a guitar shop is not
this week.
It's not glamorous if you don't sell a lot of gear. I mean, I sold a decent bit, but it's not glamorous. So I bought this thing one time it clamped on here. It was like a big piece of metal and a thumb screw on the back, and it would clamp onto the headstock of your guitar. And it was supposed to increase sustain on your guitar. And like, I bought this thing. I was like, oh, it's going to make my sustain so much better on my electric guitar. I put it on and I'm like, I don't hear a difference in sustain at all. Like, there are gimmicky things out there that like you could buy that aren't going to do anything for you. Or you can spend the money and buy stuff that is going to do stuff for you, Like, don't be an idiot and buy a sustainer block. Like, that doesn't work.
Be Trust smart me, and buy a Jake Blade.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's it. Don't be an idiot like me. Buy a Jake Blade.
There you go. We'll cut that. We're going to use that promo piece for everything.
Yeah. Are you an idiot like Taylor? Don't be. Buy a Jake Blade.
They have like those little gifs where it's like the little stick person and they're like, this is Bob. Bob is stupid. Don't be like Bob. Buy a Jake blade.
I'll tell you what, I think if the Jake blade was around back when like Mike Myers was doing his Wayne's World, like I think that Strat would have had a Jake blade. She will be mine. But he would be talking about the Jake blade, not the Strat.
Oh my God.
Party on, Garth.
Oh my God. That would be fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, it's just yeah. I mean I could go on for hours. Let's see what else to make. No, I won't do that to you guys. Thanks for listening to me ramble about guitars and Jake blades and stuff though. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, anytime. I just love chatting with you. And I was so excited because this is the first time that we've done anything, just the two of us. Usually it's the whole band is there. And we just spent over an hour talking about gear. And I'm just like, yep. I woke up this morning so excited.
Show off so much more gear. It's downstairs mostly though. I do have my Mesa Boogie up here. I have a Mark V 35. And I have my first ever tube amp, which is a Fender Excelsior I got in 2011. And that's sick. That's over there. I have my handmade cabinet over here on the where the Mesa is. I don't think I'll be able to pick up the camera and move it, so I'll just have to send you a picture of it.
Okay.
But yeah, it's my hand built. My first guitar cabinet that I built, and it's just like a 1x12, and it works great for the practice room up here.
That's cool.
And what else I have up here? My classical guitar. I've got my Martin D35. I've got my Taylor 214. Got my piano back there. A Yamaha piano. I got a banjo back there. It's a 1930s Banner blue banjo that belonged to my great grandfather.
That's cool.
So I have that. That's pretty fun. It's
That's
tenor
really
banjo.
special.
So 4-string tenor banjo, Irish banjo, if anybody knows. I tune it. I cheat. I don't do open tuning. I tune it like the 4 strings, the 4 high strings on the guitar. Makes it easier. I just grip chords up there then. I don't have to relearn a new tuning. But yeah, I got pedals galore. So much gear. So much gear. 20 years of playing though, right? That's why you get so much gear.
You're gonna collect all the things.
Yeah, you have to. It's like Pokemon.
Yeah.
You gotta catch them all.
Gotta catch them all. I love it. That's what I say. If I won the lottery tomorrow, even though I don't play, people would know because I would just have all these guitars just on the wall. When I went to Sweetwater with RoughGauge a couple years ago, and I was just in the guitar room and I was just standing there, and Mark's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "No,
I'm not."
You could just leave me here. We're good.
I'm just gonna stare for a while.
I'm just gonna stand here and stare at everything.
And somebody comes up, "Do you want to try one?" "No, please."
No, I just want to look at them. They're just beautiful.
There's so many nice looking guitars. I love the look of my guitars. I think I always find ones that look pretty, but I like them more as players. Like they're just so nice. Like I don't think I own a guitar just to own one. I have a Telecaster that I bought and I was like, I think I'm going to be a Tele guy for a while. And I tried and I was like, I'm not a Tele guy. So if anybody wants a Telecaster, hit me up. I'll sell it to you. It's a nice one. It's Mexican made, candy apple red. It's just a nice guitar. Got some nice features.
You're like, it's not for me.
Yeah, it's just not for me. It does play nice. It plays real nice. I used it for a couple of solo gigs too at one point because I wasn't feeling like playing the acoustic guitar as much, and I was like, "Oh, I'll just use it for solo gigs. I'll do some looping." And it's got like a nice open tone for, singing over too. So I could still do some of the like covers that I'll do like Bob Seger and different stuff, But yeah, it's just that's not my vibe. I love Strat style guitars and always have. And ever since I bought my Charvel, it was like, yeah, I'm a Strat guy, but I never owned a Strat. I just owned G&Ls and Kramers and Charvels and, never bought a Strat.
Not yet.
Not yet. There's still time.
There's plenty of time.
I
Many
might
more
just have to
years
buy
to
another
collect
G&L.
gear.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like I always buy them to play them, and then like I just can't part with them. I feel so sad. I had an Ovation that I bought in 2006. It's like my first acoustic guitar I bought, and I sold it because I had my Taylor guitar, the type that I played way more. I had gotten a speeding ticket, and I sold my Ibanez electric and my Ovation at the same time just so I could pay the speeding ticket.
Ugh.
And instead of hawking them, because I was like, well, I don't really have a good job. I think I was like 18. I was like, I'll just sell it straight up to the pawn shop. And when I went to go back and wanted to find it to buy it, somebody had already bought it, obviously, because it's a great guitar. And I lost that one. I bought, 2006, I got that guitar. So I don't have it. I don't have that one. I don't have the Ibanez. I have some pictures of me playing them, which is nice. It's always nice to look at those and go, I liked that guitar.
I remember.
Yeah.
Like a long lost lover or something.
It really is. It's so sad to sell a guitar you're attached to. That's why I don't do it anymore. If I have a guitar I'm attached to, I keep it. I don't.
You got that bond. You spend, the relationship is like nothing else.
Yeah, the Ovation was the one I learned on for the most part. Like I borrowed like my dad's guitar and for a year, and a guitar from my cousin, and other than that, I just bought that guitar and I learned on it for 3 years. Got up to playing well, and was like, okay, I'm gonna buy a Taylor guitar, and then I bought a Taylor guitar like when I graduated high school, like 2009. And I've had that guitar ever since. I still have that one. That's still my main acoustic guitar. The D35 I have, my grandfather gave to me, which is awesome. I have a triple O, or I think it's a double O, sorry, nylon string Martin as well. It's a 1960, I want to say 2, might be 65. Double O nylon string that it's classical. My grandfather was a classical guitarist, just a hobbyist classical guitarist, and he gave that one to me as well. So I have that. It's in Florida at his house right now, though. But it has a letter attached that says transfers ownership and stuff like that. But those are beautiful guitars. Ones I'll never take out of the house, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I could nerd for gear forever about gear too. Oh, it's a really cool thing I got recently. I think you might know what Molly got me a Christmas present this year for that I think is amazing. So I'd looked at these before and I never got them. They're wooden spoons.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Yes.
It's like, I don't know. It's
So fun.
unique.
Yes.
And I was looking up stuff about them, and I guess they go all the way back to like, I think it said ancient Egypt. They had like hieroglyphs of people playing spoons. I'm like, that's pretty unique. The Irish use them. There's so many different countries that have used them, and like Appalachian music and stuff. But what I like to do with these now is I'll put on like Railroad Earth, and I'll jam to Railroad Earth with the spoons.
Oh, that's amazing. My grandpa used to play, and he taught me how to play the spoons, actually 2 spoons. And
using real spoons.
Yeah.
It's the same.
So
it's like the same
That's
concept.
how I know how to play it. So
Yeah. These are really cool. I think it's such a fun like little toy.
It is. I'm excited to see what you guys do, like where it pops up in some new Mosey Beat music.
I think it will. I think it like has to because it's so unique.
Can do like some really fun like intro or something into a song, or
right,
like something really fun. It'll be a perfect. You guys will have a song and you'll be like, "There's something missing from this," and you'll be like, "I know."
Spoons. Yeah, we have like I've always played djembes too since I was in middle school. Because I started on drums when I was like, that tall. And so I was always a drummer and I loved it. And like I remember my middle school, one of my middle school teachers started a club and it was hand drum. It was like hand drum club, djembe club. And so my mom was at vending a festival, and she saw somebody selling handmade drums, and she's like, "Hey, do you want me to buy one for you?" I was like, I used my birthday money or something. I'm like, "Yeah." So I have this beautiful hand carved, actual calfskin head djembe, and it's like the most gorgeous instrument, you know. But Blair always played it too, like because he was always a drummer. So we love these like alternative instruments. It's so cool to have around, you know. I have a frog that you.
Oh, we have one of those too. My kids love it. It's so fun.
It's like a gyro, but it's a frog, you know?
Yeah, well, that kind of stuff is so fun. And like for me, I mean, the way I listen to music is just different anyways, but it's fun when I'm listening to something and you're like, wait a minute, what is that in there? Is that really insert whatever here? So I think that'll be really fun to scavenger hunt and find out where you guys
I think it's going to be a thing that we're going to start to do more of. As we've done some things like in the one recording, Dave played flute on Afternoon Funk, and like it's kind of like in there, but it's like you don't really notice. It's like it starts right after the first chorus. There's like a flute part, and it like kind of just sounds like just like there's a couple notes, you know, here and there. I think it's like do did it, you know, and like he does like a little riff with it and stuff. So it's like that's fun because like we don't do that live, but it was in the recording, you know?
Mm-hmm. Could you imagine if you started doing that? He came out and...
Yeah. Just like Jethro Tull it.
Yes.
Call me Jethro.
Well, on that note, this was so much fun. Thank you so much. And thank you for humoring my experiments of the RoughGauge featured artist spotlight. I can't think of anybody better than to be the first one that we feature, the guinea pig of the whole project. Makes sense that it's you.
Thank you very much for asking me. I feel honored to be a part of, this process. It's so fun. And again, I love the product. Wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah, we love it. And definitely check out Taylor's feature on our website. And I think that is the video that I put on the bottom of the page, is that Sherman theater show that you were mentioning earlier on. So you can just go right to the RoughGauge
head over to the RoughGauge website.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a awesome site to be on. The thing is, you can't close out the browser until you add to cart and then pay PayPal.
And then pay. So you got to get that. So, well, awesome. Thank you
so much.
This was such a blast.
Yeah, it was. And again, anybody that's interested in the Jake Blade, if you have questions specifically guitar related, reach out to me. TO13 Mosey or Mosey_Beat on Instagram, and I'll answer you on either of those.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode. Please be sure to leave a review of the show. It would mean so much to me, and it helps get this podcast into the ears of even more fellow music fans. If you're not already following the show on social media, find us on Facebook and Instagram at droppedamongthiscrowdpodcast, or check out datcmediacompany.com for more. Thank you again. I'll see you around these parts real soon. Mad love.